How much does it cost to live in the Dominican Republic if you already own your home? For many people, this is a key point. Not rent or investments, just daily life. Food, healthcare, transportation, entertainment, and comfort. And this is where many people's expectations differ greatly from reality. Some think it's a very cheap country where you can live for next to nothing, while others, on the contrary, are convinced that everything here is very expensive. In reality, as usual, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, but with a very important caveat. The Dominican Republic is not a single market. It actually has several completely different standards of living, and the difference between them can be twofold or even more. It all depends on where you live and how you live. Let's start with the most basic thing, food. If you continue to live in a North American style, buying everything at the supermarket, choosing imported products, cheeses and meats from familiar brands, then the prices won't particularly please you. A liter of milk, for example, is about $1.50, chicken is $3 to $4 a kilo, beef is $7 to $10 a kilo, and eggs are $2 to $3 a dozen. So in good supermarkets, prices are significantly cheaper than in Canada or the US, but not by a huge margin. But as soon as you start adjusting your habits, and begin choosing local products, fruits, vegetables, and fresh fish, in other words, avoiding expensive imported goods, the situation changes dramatically. Mangoes, papayas, pineapples, bananas, strawberries, fresh salads, and so on cost next to nothing here compared to Canada and the US, and you can really save money on these. As a result, a reasonable food budget for two people is about $600 to $700 per month. That's if you live comfortably without scrimping, but also not eating out at restaurants. Regarding restaurants, this is where the Dominican Republic truly shines. You can eat for $5 to $10 locally or spend $60 to $80 for two at an expensive restaurant, offering great flexibility. You can live very inexpensively or you can live at a resort level, so it all depends on your habits. But there is one thing that many people don't think about. That's electricity. In the Dominican Republic, this is one of the biggest expense items. In many places, air conditioners run almost constantly, especially in Punta Cana and Cap Cana. And a bill of $150 to $250 a month is absolutely normal. In your own villa, electricity can cost $250 to $350 or more. It all depends on how often you use the air conditioner. And this is something that really surprises many people when they start living in the Dominican Republic. In the north of the Dominican Republic, like Sosua, the climate is cooler, so you use air conditioning less, saving money. It's even better in Las Terrenas. There is a steady breeze there, and many use AC rarely, especially if the complex is on a breezy hill or in the shade of the jungle with tall palms. Internet costs $40 to $60 per month. Mobile service is $20 to $30 per person. Now about healthcare. Note, healthcare in the Dominican Republic is quite good, but insurance is mandatory. Local plans cost about $70 monthly per person. Don't skimp on this, especially for seniors. Now, transportation. If you don't buy a car, life becomes much cheaper. Taxis are inexpensive, $3 to $5. Many people get around by Uber or simply walk, especially if they live in compact communities. But if you want the familiar North American level of comfort with a car expenses will be roughly comparable to those in Canada and the USA. Gas here costs about $1.20 to $1.40 per liter. The minimum insurance starts at $150 per year. But if you want full coverage, it will cost around $1,000 per year. A few years ago, the Dominican Republic opened its market to Chinese car manufacturers, and this is a big difference from North America. There are plenty of Chinese cars in dealerships, and the prices here will definitely please you. A good class SUV, brand new from the dealership and, in my opinion, in no way inferior in quality to the brands familiar in the US and Canada, can be purchased for less than $40,000. Now let's sum it up. How much money do you need per month if you already own your home? And let's break it down by region, because that's where the key difference lies. Las Terrenas is one of the most affordable and balanced options. A European atmosphere, unique nature, mountains, beaches, white sand, and at the same time, prices are lower than in Punta Cana. If you own your own home there, you can live very comfortably on $1,200 to $1,800 a month for two people. And that's already a level where you don't have to count every penny. Punta Cana and Bávaro have more developed infrastructure, more tourists, more services, but they're also a bit more expensive. Here, comfort starts at about $2,000 a month for two people. Cap Cana is a different story altogether. It's a large, gated, elite area, almost like a different country, and in terms of atmosphere, it feels closer to Miami than the typical Dominican Republic, but prices there are different too. For a comfortable life in Cap Cana for two, you need at least $3,000 a month. Finally, Sosua is a more affordable option. There, you can live on $1,200 to $2,000 a month and feel very free. Of course, it's possible to live much more cheaply in the Dominican Republic. Locals live on much less money since, for example, a bank teller earns $800 a month, office jobs start at $1,000 a month, and many families in Punta Cana have a household income of less than $2,000. And with that money, they still have to rent housing, which costs $500 to $600 a month. At the same time, they can no longer afford to buy groceries in good supermarkets and choose cheaper products. But of course, this is not the standard of living that attracts Americans and Canadians here. So, for a comfortable life in the Dominican Republic, if you own your own home and want to live well, on average, a couple needs $2,000 to $3,000 a month. You can certainly live on less money, but you will have to deny yourself many things. Most Canadian and American families of retirement age have pensions that are enough to live very comfortably in the Dominican Republic. There is also another important point. If you own property here and come to the Dominican Republic for 5 or 6 months a year, your apartment is unlikely to sit empty for the other half of the year. The majority of these residential complexes have a professional centralized management system for short-term apartment rentals. So when you are not personally using your apartment, it is rented out to tourists through this management and generates additional passive income. The average yield from short-term rentals in prime locations is approximately 10 to 12% per year. So for example, if a retired couple buys a modest apartment, say for $200,000, and uses it for themselves for half the year, while renting it out for the other half, they can earn about $10,000 a year as additional passive income on top of their regular pension. That is precisely why today, retirees from the US and Canada make up about 40% of those who purchase real estate in the Dominican Republic. And that's also why the Dominican Republic has overtaken Florida and become the #1 destination where North American retirees prefer to spend their winters. But it's better to start thinking about a comfortable retirement in advance while you're still working, because in the Dominican Republic, if you buy during the construction phase, you save at least 20% off the price of an apartment. And you don't need all the money up front. You can usually pay in small installments over the typical 2-year construction period. And if you bought an apartment, say 10 years before your planned retirement, that's even better. Because over those years, the apartment has completely paid for itself through rental income, and by the time you retire, you will have already paid off the line of credit if you initially used a line of credit or a mortgage on your primary residence in the US or Canada to make the purchase. Our company works with virtually all projects in the Dominican Republic, and we would be happy to help you turn your dream of living in Dominican paradise into reality. If you're interested in this topic, schedule an appointment online or at one of our offices. You can do so via the link below this video or by calling the number on the screen. See you again on the channel.